Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Check Me. Um, the Alabama faithful is calling for Nick Saban back, and man, I had to let a day go by before I talked about this one. Um, man, losing to Vanderbilt is just different. It's just crazy. It's not supposed to happen. It doesn't happen. Um, there's three things I want to talk about. I want to talk about the defense. I want to talk about Jalen Milroe, and I want to talk about Kalen DeBoer and the Nick Saban pretty much echo that is in the halls of Alabama that may be starting to be gone that quickly. Um, and we'll talk about this a good thing or bad thing. First thing, the defense. You got to do something, and we saw it towards the end of the Georgia game. For years, our cornerbacks cannot play man coverage. They've been too handsy. They've been getting beat, and this is just a behavior that we've seen throughout Alabama, and which has put us in a situation where we can't just play man up, even against Vanderbilt with better players, better recruits. The kids at Vanderbilt, they're having the best time of their life, and they should. If you lose to the West, because right now Vanderbilt's 3-2 in the conference, with a win against a top-ranked team. All right, so Vanderbilt's not like I'm not saying Vanderbilt's good, but this is the best season they've had in a while. I mean, they played tough games. They beat Virginia Tech. They lost an nail biter to Missouri. They beat Alabama. Georgia State lost. I don't know where that came from, but Georgia State's it's a tough D2 team. But that puts Alabama in a spot right now where they don't control their own destiny to get to SEC championship again. Now, with 12 teams, it's less. It doesn't matter as much, but SEC championship is just as important for your conference and your alumni and your boosters than it is, with with a national championship playoff berth. But I thought the defense had to adjust, should have adjusted. We saw them get pushed around, just not be. They just not have the luster that they should have. They were very complacent. They were very, very nonchalant about this game, and this is the problem that we have. Right? The problem is this: we went into Alabama. We went to the game. Alabama went to the game with the mindset of it's not. It wasn't just it being a trap game. It was the fact that they were high off the last game, and they never got humbled. We saw the social media. We saw the clippings. We saw the NIL valuation go up. We saw Ryan Williams' valuation go up. We saw his followers go up. We saw the best game ever. You beat Georgia. Oh man, Nick Saban's gone, and you know what? We're in good hands. And the players were never humbled in that locker room. Never. No one told them they had to play just as hard next week. When you play at Alabama, right? Everyone wants your number. Now, the luster's gone with Nick Saban. But they just went to this game with a mindset of with today and age, with media, social media, you are the man for a short time period. And to way to be the man, it's not focused on being the man. It's about just being the man. What I mean by that is this: the newspaper clippings, the radio podcasts, XYZ, all these things that these players get to experience throughout that week made them forget that they had to play football and who they were. They thought that they could just go into game. This is why Nick Saban is yelling when his teams are up 40-3 and it's the third quarter. For this very reason. You don't let up. We saw it with Georgia 2 weeks ago where they let up. Right? You don't let up. Right? You have to be relentless in your approach to bury these teams. You have to bury them. And that's not what the MO is. This mentality of let the players Jalen Milroe doing the Fortnite dance, TikTok dance, and then you're losing against Vanderbilt. That's preposterous. And it wasn't like Vanderbilt had some stroke of luck. Vanderbilt literally beat them up the field by running the ball. They ran the ball 54 times. They basically and they converted third downs. You lost to a quarterback who was 20 for 20, right? Ran the ball 20 times, 56 yards, and then and they're pass the ball 20 times. So the fact of the matter is they only scored 4 touchdowns on offense, right? Of course, Jalen Milroe and them gave him one, but this is segueing to Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe, we want to crown him so bad, like you play Jalen Milroe's strengths and he'll be great. I said it last week, yes, you do that, but he's got to pass the ball. Like you gotta be a better passer. You gotta win. You got to win games. You gotta win games. And Jalen Milroe, Nick Saban said, this is the same reason I think Jalen Milroe is the reason why Nick Saban left is he hasn't developed year over year. I've said this a long time ago. It's concerning to see Jalen Milroe not develop year over year. It's a concern. He's an Anthony Richardson that happens to be Alabama. He's got a big arm, he can run. But he's easily confused. He doesn't read the coverages. He doesn't go through his progressions, and he just immediately starts to panic when it comes down to it. Alabama had an opportunity. Alabama had an opportunity at the end of this game. Where is it? At the end of this game to stop them, and they couldn't stop them. But also, Jalen Milroe is the reason why holding the ball in the pocket too long. Mr. Turnover King. He's got to figure out how. And we're going to focus on, well, he had 310 passing and he had a touchdown on the ground. Doesn't matter. You got to win games. You got to win the big games. And Jalen Milroe just doesn't play big in the big games. And this is not just something, I'm an only kid. This is something that we've seen year over year. And if you go back to last year, 2023, the game against Michigan, he was 16 for 23, 0 touchdowns, 21 carries, 63 yards, sacked 6 times. When the pressure gets on, he can't think straight. When he played Texas A&M, he had how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games last year. 9 games last year where he got sacked 4 times or more. The game is coming too fast for him. For him to slow down, you got to develop him as a quarterback. And he's not doing that right now. He's a great running back, right? Different from Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson can pass the ball, right? Not just have a big arm, but pass the ball. Jalen Milroe just, I don't see it, right? I don't see him being that guy. And going to Kellen DeBoer, oh, poor guy. That sucker has to deal with the radio, the Alabama faithful, the boosters, the alumni, the media. You know, you beat Georgia and then you lose to Vanderbilt. How does that that makes no sense. You beat them one team and then you lose to a team who has a history of just being trash. Every year Vanderbilt knows they play Alabama and this is it for them. Right? Boo, all downhill from here. But now you're in the situation where, Kellen DeBoer has to go next week and talk to tomorrow and today when this will be posted, talk to the Alabama faithful. Look who you're not playing. Right? Look how many undefeated teams you're not playing. Right? So you're not going to play. You're going to play LSU. You're not going to play A&M, who's 3-0 in the conference. You're not going to play Texas, who's 1-0 in the conference. There's a good chance to make this SEC championship game. Right? Which is the standard of Alabama. Is there grace that they give them? I don't know. Right? But that's the standard. Now Texas, right? I'm trying to look at their schedule here. Texas is going to have to play Georgia. I do suspect Texas to lose to Georgia. But Alabama could have outright just sealed their way. If you look at their schedule, there's one hard team on their schedule that they had this year. And that was Georgia. They beat them. South Carolina, Tennessee, Mizzou, LSU, they always play them tough. Mercer, Oklahoma, and Auburn. Right? But now Jalen Milroe has to understand and Kellen DeBoer has to realize this is not the Pac-12. Right? You have to play defense in here. That's the type of great offense. Well, I'm talking to people saying, "Oh, Jalen Merrill, he put up 35 points." Doesn't matter, right? And they put up 25 points, but there's no defense. And I say no defense, but the defense didn't step up. And Jalen Merrill has to be great all the time, right? And he has to be good all the time. Next week, they play South Carolina, which poor South Carolina. I feel like they're going to take out frustration on them. But Alabama, this is a step. Regardless if you win against Georgia, regardless if it's Caleb on the board, no matter who's here, this is a step back. And with Nick Saban, he talked about rat poison. Who is checking the Alabama players week to week? Who's checking them? Right? So Alabama players got a reality check. I think it's good to be humbled. But it was a huge reality check for Alabama. And they had to figure out how to be good week in, week out. And let this be a reminder of how cocky and arrogant they were last week after beating Georgia and not realizing they had to play through the SEC schedule.